Who's the best player in the world?
Lionel Messi.
Who's the best player of all time?
Lionel Messi.
How do you put statistics on this, Phil? This isn't measurable, because this is the art of human. Arsene Wenger was so wrong when he called him a PlayStation player. He was so wrong. This is the art of football, levitated by the human touch and spirit and everything that goes in to making, in my eyes, the most complete footballer the world has ever seen.
The Ballon d'Or wins over the past 14 years have sparked endless debates about who truly deserved the prestigious award. While I generally try to avoid these arguments, since so many factors come into play when voting, and those factors can vary wildly depending on who's casting the vote, I recently stumbled across something that left me completely stunned. Just a few days ago, as I was scrolling through TikTok, I came across a video. Now normally, I ignore controversial takes, but this one, it left me stunned. How? How could anyone possibly argue that Messi didn't deserve the 2019 Ballon d'Or? Come on, guys. You could debate any other Ballon d'Or win of Messi's career, but not the 2019 one. It wasn't even his greatest season, historically speaking, but compared to the other candidates, there was simply no way he didn't deserve that award. And this is no disrespect to Virgil van Dijk, Cristiano Ronaldo, or Sadio Mane, who came in second, third, and fourth. But in 2019, Messi was the clear winner, and it wasn't even a contest. Let's start with the context. Back then, the Ballon d'Or was awarded based on performances across a calendar year, from 1st January 2019 to 24th November 2019. This meant it covered both the second half of the 2018-19 season and the first half of the 2019-20 season. The voting process was based on three main criteria: individual performances, team achievements, and fair play and influence. Under individual performances, voters looked at three key factors. First, the player's skill and talent, their technical ability, vision, dribbling, goal scoring, passing, and overall influence on the game. Next was consistency, how regularly they delivered in matches, especially in key moments. And then, of course, the stats: goals, assists, key defensive contributions, match-winning moments, all the tangible aspects that define a player's performance. The second metric was team achievements. This one is pretty straightforward: the trophies won and the player's contribution to that success. Finally, we have fair play and influence, which encompasses the player's overall influence both on and off the pitch. Their leadership, ethical conduct, behavior on the field, and sportsmanship were all taken into account. So back to this TikTok I mentioned earlier. They listed Lewandowski with the most goals, Müller with the most assists, Ronaldo with the most international goals, Van Dijk with the most trophies, Liverpool as the UCL winner, Van Dijk as the UCL MVP, among other things. Now, just looking at these stats, it's clear this person is really biased. I mean, since when did the most international goals in a single year become a metric for winning the Ballon d'Or? Seriously, how? Where are people even getting these ideas from? The only reason I can think of for Ronaldo being ranked third in the voting that year is because he won the inaugural UEFA Nations League with Portugal and had standout performances, like that hat trick against Switzerland in the semifinals, and of course the famous comeback hat trick against Atletico in the Champions League round of 16. And let's set the record straight. Müller didn't have more assists than Messi during that period. He finished with 12 assists, which is impressive, sure, but you don't need to be a math genius to know that 12 is less than 17, which is what Messi had. Then there's Van Dijk. He wasn't even the player with the most trophies. That honor went to Ronaldo, who won Serie A, the Supercoppa Italiana, and the UEFA Nations League. By the time Liverpool won the Club World Cup, the Ballon d'Or voting had already closed. Now, Lewandowski scoring more goals. That's true, but what this person meant by more is just one goal. Lewandowski scored 47 goals compared to Messi's 46. One goal difference doesn't exactly tip the scale. What's really funny is how this person completely ignored why Messi was even shortlisted for the Ballon d'Or in the first place. Like, how do you overlook him winning La Liga, the European Golden Boot, the Pichichi, being the UCL top scorer, and finishing the season with the most assists in the league? Not to mention breaking the 600 goal mark for Barcelona, scoring his 50th free kick, becoming the all-time leader in La Liga hat-tricks with 34 and more. Statistically, Messi was miles ahead of everyone else that year. No one could match his combination of scoring and assisting. And what's even crazier is that his numbers weren't inflated by penalties either. He only scored 5 from the spot all season. The majority of his goals came from open play. But perhaps the most important reason Messi won the Ballon d'Or was his insane carry job with Barcelona throughout the season. His influence on that team was immense. He wasn't just scoring goals, he was Barcelona's engine, their leader, their playmaker. If you watched Barca between 2017 and 2021, you know exactly what I mean. Messi wasn't just filling one specific role like Van Dijk or Sadio Mane. He was Barcelona's primary creator, scorer, and captain. He literally turned water into wine every time he stepped onto the pitch with the Barca crest on his chest. Barcelona had countless issues throughout the season, but Messi carried them almost single-handedly. Their midfield lacked the creativity and control that had once defined their play style in the peak years. They struggled to dominate possession or break down stubborn defenses like they used to. Their defense was a shadow of its former self. It was mediocre and well past its prime. Piqué, Alba, and Umtiti were inconsistent and lacked the pace to shut down younger, faster attackers. Defensive lapses often cost them, leading to avoidable goals. Up front, the situation wasn't much better. Suarez's form was erratic, and they had no reliable backup options. Coutinho was far from his best. He never found his rhythm, and Dembélé was constantly injured and inconsistent when he did play. This lack of quality and depth on the wings meant Barca couldn't stretch defenses or provide any real width. They relied almost entirely on Messi, who had to drop deep to retain possession, control the tempo, and start attacks. He would take on multiple defenders, make decisive runs, and dictate the game, compensating for the midfield's lack of inventiveness and easing the pressure on the defense. Messi's exceptional dribbling and vision introduced an element of unpredictability that forced opposition teams to focus heavily on him. This, in turn, created space and opportunities for his teammates, often compensating for Barcelona's tactical shortcomings. Without Messi, Barcelona simply wouldn't have been competitive in either La Liga or the Champions League. They were, frankly, mediocre that season. Alejandro Moreno put it best.
His performance over the course of the last year became even more impressive given the fact that nobody else in Barcelona was producing the way that they were expected to. So Luis Suarez had a down year, Dembélé is injured, they're not available. Every single goal seemingly that Lionel Messi scored somehow was an important goal for Barcelona. It was needed. It was not a surplus, it was not something that they could have done without. No. Every performance of Lionel Messi had an importance to it, and therefore Barcelona needed Lionel Messi more than ever.
Liverpool had one of the most lethal attacks in Europe that year. They were a well-balanced team, with Salah, Mane, and Firmino leading the attack, a world-class midfield, and a solid defense anchored by Van Dijk and Alexander-Arnold. They were formidable. In contrast, Barcelona's only true attacking threat was Messi. If you look at how many goals Barcelona scored in La Liga the previous season, so much of it was down to Messi. He was involved in more than half of all Barcelona's goals. That's something the Ballon d'Or voters clearly appreciated, when a player carries their team and puts them in the best position to win, like Messi did. And since the Ballon d'Or is based on individual performances, there was no question Messi had to win it. Now let's consider a hypothetical situation. If you were to take Van Dijk and Messi out of their respective teams and swap them, who would suffer the most? Barcelona with Van Dijk wouldn't have won La Liga or made a deep Champions League run like they did with Messi. But if Messi had been in that Liverpool team, they would have won the Champions League, the Premier League, and probably a few other trophies too. This isn't to belittle Van Dijk's contributions with Liverpool. He was critical for their success, but it's simply to show how much more important Messi was for Barcelona in getting them to the heights they reached and winning the trophies they did, compared to Van Dijk with Liverpool. Messi's influence was just on another level. Julian Lauren summed it up perfectly.
He carried that team more than Van Dijk carried his team. Van Dijk made Liverpool better, but he didn't carry Liverpool in the way that Messi carried that Barca team to a certain level of height. And also Argentina in the Copa America, even if they lost in the semi-final, he also carried that team by himself. And I think that there's a point where you also understand why Messi got it, because he's the greatest of all time, and also because he's carrying his teams like no one else does in the world.
The criticism directed at Messi often comes from Barcelona's collapse in the Champions League against Liverpool, where they lost 4-0 after having a 3-0 advantage from the first leg. But let's be clear, Messi had done his part. He scored twice in the first leg and was crucial in setting Barcelona up for success. Heading into the second leg, though, Barcelona had serious problems. Luis Suarez was having his worst season at the club, scoring just 21 goals and providing only 6 assists, far below his usual standards. Then there was Dembélé, who got injured just days before that critical second leg. Valverde didn't even trust his other options, like Kevin Prince Boateng or Malcolm, leaving Messi with little support. Yes, Liverpool had their own injuries with Salah and Firmino missing, but they still had solid attacking options in Sadio Mane, Xherdan Shaqiri, and Divock Origi, who ultimately got the job done. Despite the circumstances, Messi still created numerous chances for his teammates at Anfield, but they failed to convert them. It wasn't Messi's failure, it was a collective collapse by Barcelona. Messi's otherworldly performances throughout the season, though, were undeniable. In tight games and against tough opponents, he was the difference maker. Like against Lyon, where he scored twice and assisted twice, advancing Barcelona to the quarterfinals. Then, his trademark performance against Man United in the quarters, where he scored 2 early goals, crushing their hopes and sending Barca to the semifinals. Don't forget his brilliant individual effort against Atletico Madrid, effectively sealing the La Liga title for Barcelona. Or the stunning hat-trick against Real Betis, including an exquisite chip from the edge of the box. Another hat-trick and an assist came in an epic comeback against Sevilla. Then again, his masterclass against Borussia Dortmund, where he scored a goal and provided 2 assists, putting Barca on top of their group. Messi's all-around influence was immense, as Barcelona almost always overturned deficits to claim crucial wins when he was on the field. His impact went far beyond statistics. It was about how he controlled the flow of games, turned tight situations in Barcelona's favor, and delivered when it mattered most.
As I just mentioned, anything in the attack that was worth anything for Barcelona over the last year, Lionel Messi was involved in it, and it was a need. It was dependent upon whatever he did, on the ball, without the ball, scoring the goals, setting somebody else up, because there was no help coming from anywhere else on that field.
Now, seeing that over 65,800 people saw and liked this TikTok post makes me seriously question what football they were watching.